Yeah, if you consider a flow to life, a design to life, or a synchronicity to life, which in our metaphysical, more spiritual, the way we live, we do kind of believe that. It's like, yeah, there's a flow. Yeah, it's in the flow. It's in the zone. Things are right. And whoever is designing and operating that flow, there's something about which we sometimes call the universe or God or whatever. It's like, oh, there can be this flow of, and it's not just money, it can truly be love and abundance of relating, and it can easily be massive amounts of creativity, whether you're a performing artist or a scientist or whatever, but the creativity. So now, if you were designing that and you go, oh, there's somebody who's open, aligned, in their truth, in their being, setting intentions, and the flow comes that way, and the designers, the architects, flow it, and then he's got it, but then he doesn't do anything with it. It has to stop. It's just like an electric dam or any other flow of power. If it's not going to get used to turn the generators or something, it's going to stop. And in this case, the fears came up, and so it stops. And that is a exact metaphor, especially for love in longer term relating. All that incredible magic and joy and romance in the beginning. Who can keep that? And we can go totally into that. And I'll tell you exactly why it isn't kept and how you can, and all that kind of stuff. But it's very similar. You have a flow of joy, a flow of ecstasy, a flow of bliss, just by virtue of somebody you just adore. And then it comes and it comes and it comes, and then what happens? Somehow it stops. And it's like, hey, you're not the man I married, or you're not, or something goes off, and that incredible ecstasy of flow, in this case about a relationship and the experience of love, stops. And well, then what, And then, well, the relationship does whatever it does. And some people are lucky enough to find their way through and keep some love going. Most are not. But the point here is that as life flows you the goodies, the things that you want, there's a receiving of it, and there's a work and a challenge about that. But then there's a giving, and there's a work and a challenge about that. And you can actually, you can kind of fuck it up either way. On the receiving end or on the giving end, you can be blocked and cause difficulties.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just to kind of like, just to finish the story of what I created around that, is that I actually learned how to give and why and the value of it and what it can create. And also, it was for me authentic giving. So I also turned people down if it didn't feel like it was the truth for me to give them money. But what I got was that I created a home for 3 of us and paid for everything and created an incredible environment where we could really transform ourselves. And then we each left the nest and then began to create in the world. Yeah. So I really got the value of what the money that I had and how I used it served everyone.
Yeah.
So that's the money story.
Yeah, and how it's a metaphor and a model for the flow of everything that you want. Again, everything starts with your intent, your desire, your authentic intent, being true to yourself, your authentic desires, then the transformation process of receiving it, and then the transformation process of contributing back to life, and come some of the steps there.
Yeah. I want to go back to a little bit. You were starting to get into relationships, and I want to share a little bit about, again, my own results, because they have been so phenomenal. I don't even know where to begin. But I guess what I'd like to say is that most of my life I felt really disempowered for whatever reason around my, I don't know, I suppose you could call it sexual confidence as a man, or being able to create what I want sexually in my life.
Yeah.
And in terms of relationships is really what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's whether you look at it from a man's point of view who's frustrated, just has trouble getting laid, or you look at it from a woman's, the generalized, there's really not that much difference between men and women between sex and love, although there's stereotypes. Whichever way you look at it, there's just huge disempowerment about it. People have great difficulty establishing intimacy, great difficulty receiving love. Talk about receiving money. Talk about receiving love is just as difficult. So the whole area of giving and receiving love and receiving your soulmate relationships and keeping it satisfying is, well, if money's the absolute worst, this one's got to be number two.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not easy for me to actually come to that place of realizing how much fear, anger, pain I had around women and being rejected or feeling rejected. I mean, I've just gone through a whole bunch of stuff around it.
Many layers of the onion, thousands of onion skins.
Yeah, exactly. So the last relationship I was in for about 4.5 years was so powerful, so transformative in so many ways, and I created so much of what I wanted. And yet it wasn't quite what I wanted. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. And I had to go through another few layers. One of them, major one, was at Shasta, where I got how much I make myself wrong for what I want, whatever it is. And that was like the biggest thing.
Yeah, now just a little definition there. When he uses the phrase "make myself wrong," see, these are the voices, the thoughts, the beliefs, the rationales, the things you tell yourself that are highly destructive. They're just all manner of ways of saying one of things along the theme of you are inadequate, you are unlovable, you can't make it, you'll never succeed, you'll never win, you can't have what you want. There's hundreds of them in this theme. And your internal dialogue, your voices, your thoughts, your beliefs, they're in the habit of killing you off. And whenever they're very active and you start to, under the weight of that, that's what we call self-make wrong. You make yourself wrong, you're telling yourself all these things, and it's hammering you down, and you're not loving yourself. You're doing the opposite. You're making yourself wrong, you make yourself small. You're in fact justifying, and you're justifying why you don't have what you want. And it just heaps extra pain on the process and heaps extra work on the process, and is one of the worst. In my view, it's arguably the worst problem in the world, is the mountains of self-make wrong. Or to say it the other way, the appalling lack of self-love, the appalling lack of self-worth and